I gave a message inspired by a sermon that my great-great-great-grandfather, the Reverend Samuel Sturgis, gave in the 1790s, and it was called simply A Time to Mourn. And if you were here, you may recall that his beautiful penmanship was fitting of the Constitution, but neither Gene Patterson nor I could make much of it. But we did manage to decipher a couple of the opening lines, and it said, "Everything, my friends, is beautiful in its season." From the mouth of the wise man in this chapter, it seems there is a time and season for all things. And amidst all those things for which there is a time and season, he tells us in the text, there is a time to mourn. That is a time when it is suitable and proper to mourn. In the particular illustration of this subject, I shall endeavor to show you how you should mourn, and then consider when it may be properly called a time for it. The first branch of this subject then will consist in showing how you should mourn. I couldn't follow all of his writing, and I don't know when he felt was an appropriate time to mourn. But I believe the appropriate time is when our hearts are aching, wherever that may be. And the nation has been mourning a lot this week. The shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue was the third time in 3 years that people have been killed while gathered in prayer and worship. Mass shootings have become so commonplace. There was an African-American couple shot in a grocery store by a gunman who couldn't get into a nearby black church. This was just 3 days before the Tree of Life shooting. Most recently, a doctor and a college student killed in a yoga studio. In fact, as of October 29th, according to Business Insider, there have been 297 mass shootings in this country. That's nearly one mass shooting a day for 2018. The national or worldwide epidemic of violence, though, is not the focus of our time this morning, though that may be a mourning we need to do. But what I'm hoping is that we might take some time now to let our hearts open up here, maybe even crack a little, perhaps ache, as we come into holy space together to remember and to mourn and celebrate those people who touched our lives, our hearts, and whom have passed on. I'd like to share a poem called The Well of Grief by David White. Those who will not slip beneath the still surface of the well of grief, turning downward through its black water to the place we cannot breathe, will never know the source from which we drink, the secret water, cold and clear, nor find in that darkness glimmering the small round coins thrown away by those who wished for something else. Our society long ago has distanced itself from mourning. The time to grieve has gotten shorter and shorter, and a world spinning quickly forward with a fevered urgency to look even further forward. We've lost the art, the widespread practice, the room in our lives to simply sit, to be quiet, to remember. A place, a time where we can save tomorrow for tomorrow and tend to the gentle needs of our hearts. In most Jewish services I've been to, there's a time every week to remember the departed. And most Christian churches I'm aware of don't do that. But we do have this one day of the year, All Saints Day, when we take that time. And so, this is our time. To remember them, to miss them, to share together. Together is an important kind of mourning, though some of our mourning we must do in private. There was a vigil last Sunday at Congregation Kol Shafar in Tiburon to remember the 11 who were killed at the Tree of Life Synagogue. And Joey and Ellie and I were headed there. It was Sunday night. And if you know, is it Tiburon Boulevard that runs along there? There's a traffic light at, I think it's called Strawberry Drive. Before that traffic light, there were cars in the left-hand lane with their left-hand turn signal at 6 p.m. on a Sunday night. And when we turned the corner to go up something drive. Blackfield, thank you. It was packed, just packed. When we walked into the sanctuary, there were over 600 people there, every seat taken, people sitting in the aisles and standing along the walls. It was an interfaith service, and many people came together from different religions. And it reminded me of when John Lennon was killed. I was living in New York, I was in college, and there was going to be a memorial. Yoko Ono had asked that there be 10 minutes of silence on that Sunday afternoon. He was, I think, killed on a Friday. And so I didn't have any friends with me, but it was Sunday afternoon, and I knew I wanted to be up there. And I got on the subway. I knew it was somewhere in Central Park. And the subway was packed. But as it was going up, I started to wonder, where should I get off? Central Park is a pretty large area. And as we pulled into a station, and I was just about to look at the map, and everyone on the car got off. And I thought, well, this must be it. And when we stepped onto the platform, I saw that everyone on the train had gotten off. Wow. And silently, as if in a procession, hundreds of people walking up through the staircase of the subway station. And as you got up to the ground, to the sidewalk, you could see from other subway stations, people just pouring out, just coming into the park all together. And most of us didn't know each other, obviously. But we came together because when we come together, as we share our grief, I think we sense more the presence of God. And so that is today our time together. To come together, to process, to remember our loved ones. This is our time. To remember them, to miss them, to share together, that even on a sunny, beautiful day like this one, some of us may have the memory of a loved one in our hearts. When we go about our day-to-day business, we never know when the hand of a loved one is on someone else's shoulder. We don't often talk about it. We don't just say, oh gee, I'm thinking of my mom right now. And I am. But there are people who we gave our hearts to, people who left their handprints on our hearts, who no longer walk this earth, but still cozy up in our hearts, our minds, our memories. And so I hope in our time together this morning, gathered in the company of friends on earth and our friends above, that we'll bring to the fore these friends we love. So hopefully you'll find more time in our gathering today for peaceful reflection, for remembering, and for loving. Will you please pray with me? O gentle and loving God, you breathed life into us and filled us with love. And nothing has been as sweet as sharing that love. And in that space between your first breath to us and our last breath to you, we live and we laugh and we cry and we get mad and we make friends and we lose friends. And our hearts swell and our hearts shrink, and sometimes they break in two. Today we give thanks, O God, for all the good companions you have sent our way. The parents, the children, the sisters and brothers, the dear friends, the distant friends who still inspire. We pray, O God, for all those who have gone from us, from this world, who have touched us and whose presence in our lives continues to echo within us and in our life to this very day. And so we pray, be with us now as we come together and as we open ourselves to your presence, that we might in this time still, be open, be in communion in your spirit.